I'm doing a series of video bios to give you an idea of my own evolution. This one is about environmentalism, conservation, organic farming. Those were all part of my life. When I came to New York City in my late teens, early 20s, I didn't have any money. I came with $12 on a Greyhound bus. But I was fortunate enough to have a popular selling book and was able to purchase a farm. And it was in Stone Ridge, New York, which is not far from New Paltz. It was an old farm. In fact, the last descendant, who was in her 80s, was selling it because she couldn't maintain it anymore. It was 50 acres. So I was interested in organic gardening. And over a period of 14 years that I had it, I was able to show people how to do organic farming and soil conservation and hydroponics. So all the techniques that I had taught myself, I shared with others. In fact, the Fertile Earth Farm had thousands of visitors over those years, starting in Memorial Day and going right through to almost Thanksgiving. Every weekend I would teach people about animal husbandry because it was also my first animal sanctuary. I have rescued, adopted, and saved nearly 3,000 animals. Exotic animals like buffalo and zebras and camels and Adex, Oryx, elk, nilgai, impalas, to dogs and cats and squirrels and foxes. And I bring them back to good health, and then in time either release them back into the wild when they're able to be released or find them a loving home for life if they're not able to be released. And I've created special protocols that, based upon the protocols I create for humans, are able to extend their life. In fact, though she died this year, I had the longest living ringtail lemur that I'm aware of in the world. She was 33 years of age. They normally live half that. So she was literally over 200 years if she were being measured in human life. Also, a dog that was 22 when she was killed by a car, another dog 20, a cat 25. So the principles that I've used to help people, I use on animals. And then I'm happy to say that I only have a few animals right now because I've been able to find loving homes just in the last year for over 14 animals. But it started at the Fertile Earth Farm. And then later, I would go to a place in Texas. It was the old original Gene Autry, the Singing Cowboys place. I rehabilitated it, and it was called Healing Springs Ranch because originally, when it was first discovered in a little town called Tioga, population about 260 people at that time, it had been used for its famous springs and its spring water, which were claimed to be medicinal, and people would go there from around the world and sit in the spring waters. I rehabilitated all that. But I also was teaching, again, organic farming. We had 5 acres. I had 200-acre organic farm in Goshen. The Healing Springs Ranch was 200 acres. And then my 50-acre organic homestead upstate at the Fertile Earth Farm. And now I'm in Texas, a different place in Texas, but also in Florida. And in Florida, I have been teaching the people who wanted classes on sustainable living, how to grow your own food and microgreens and sprouts, and then take them from there, step by step, how you do it, even how to compost, and then taking the finished products to local farmers markets, selling them the produce, and then buying new organic heirloom seeds, saving seeds, storing seeds, sharing seeds. So I was doing 3 things simultaneously. I was showing people how to grow organic food on a farm, also to support local farmers markets and food co-ops. In fact, I was one of the founders of the first food co-op in New York. Fairway, which is a very famous food store in New York, there's a chain. One of its original owners, a guy named Dave, and I worked together, and I supplied him from the Fertile Earth Farm, and then later organic farm I had in Goshen, with the first organic produce in New York City. little known history there. I wanted to promote organic produce. Actually, I had one of the first stores, if not the first store, to carry organic produce in New York City, Creative Health Foods, which opened in 1967, which is still there to this day, little tiny store. Also, I was working with, starting in 1965, with the work of the great marine biologist who founded, for all intents and purposes, the environmental movement. Rachel Carson, in her seminal book, Silent Spring. It's on her shoulders that the entire environmental movement stood. And then Ralph Nader was a major influencer of all of us who were interested in cleaning up our water and air and soil and promoting more sustainable living and cleaner and healthier living in urban, rural, and suburban environments. I wrote my first book on the environment, Clearer, Cleaner, Safer, Greener, and I toured the United States at that time talking about how we had to protect our planet from pollution and the polluters. From then till now, I've done probably over 1,000 radio broadcasts on the environment. I've written dozens of scientific papers and lay papers on the environment, just 12 in the last year alone. A new book, it's just now coming out. It's called Saving the Planet, and it deals with what we as individuals can do and then collectively do, and then hopefully motivate our local, state, and governments to do, and then the world community to do together, like a Marshall Plan to save the world. I've also directed and narrated multiple films on the environment. The latest is one of the most comprehensive, if not the most comprehensive film ever produced on the problems in our world, not just about global warming, but also the acidification of the ocean and the bleaching of the coral reefs and factory farming, acid rain, everything that's wrong with our environment, the desertification, the destruction of the lungs of the planet, in effect selling out the Brazilian rainforest, which really belongs to the world, so they can grow meat for McDonald's and Burger King. So if you want to save the Amazon, stop eating meat. I also did Saving the Planet One Bite at a Time, another environmental film. Curing the Incurable, very important film, documentary about doctors curing their patients on a plant-based diet. And a plant-based diet is a diet that is lowering the carbon footprint. So if you just ate locally grown, organically grown, plant-based foods, you're making a big difference.
Every single independent study conducted on the impact of genetically modified food shows that it damages organs, it causes infertility, it causes immune system failure, it causes holes in the GI tract, it causes multiple organ system failure.
California Republican Congressman Devin Nunes wants to see 200 new reactors built. Congressman, that's going to be a tough sell these days. How do you think it's going to go?
My hope and my prayer is that everything ends up okay over time and people realize that nuclear power is the way to go ultimately.
I also did another film that was very popular on PBS stations that aired it, called Plant Codes. So those are the most current contributions. I've also led demonstrations against GMOs. One of the efforts, we had nearly 6,000 members of my radio audience meet in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and over a 10-day period, with others from around the United States, march to Lafayette Park, which is right across the street from the White House, to protest GMOs, genetically modified foods. I'm standing between the White House and Lafayette Park, where thousands of individuals have come from around the United States to offer a voice of challenge to the FDA. They're concerned about their rights in the future to take supplements that they deem important, or their physician deems important for their well-being. The Obama administration promised when they came into office that it wouldn't be business as usual, and yet it's business as usual. Individuals are also here to protest the FDA's support of genetic engineering, but has said nothing in support of organic and sustainable agriculture. The public is being informed at the very time that the Facebook and Google and YouTube are censoring the information if you challenge any of the orthodox and mainstream thoughts about our food. So if you're against GMOs and you're for organic, they think somehow you're a threat to society. So we have even greater tasks ahead of us.
This only works today if you start pulling off the grid of everything that empowers the 1%. So you no longer are putting money in the people who find you in contempt. All right? So today, no more credit cards from their banks. No more food from their stores. No more clothes from their stores where they're using labor, paying them 15 cents an hour in Bangladesh. From now on, make your choices from a spiritual, enlightened perspective. Thank you all.
I've spent my entire adult career in one area as an environmentalist, conservationist, ecologist, organic farmer, certified organic farmer, teaching people, because we have to live that life. And that's why I'm a vegan. That's why I eat organic. And that's why I seek out foods that are locally grown, go to local farmers markets. And that's just one of my biographies.